I never thought I'd be in a situation like this, sitting across from my wife, Lucy, in a cozy little cafe that used to be our favorite spot, contemplating the end of our marriage like it was some kind of absurd movie script. But here we were, staring at each other across the table, surrounded by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods. To anyone else, we might seem like just another couple enjoying a lazy Sunday brunch. But beneath the surface, everything was about to shatter. Let me give you some context. Lucy and I have been married for 6 years. We met in college, where every day felt like a whirlwind of youthful excitement and late-night adventures. But as life settled in, we had our fair share of ups and downs, like any couple. We both had stable jobs, a mortgage, and the usual responsibilities that come with adulthood. I thought we were doing fine until a few months ago when I started noticing subtle changes in Lucy. It began with her late nights at work turning into weekly outings with friends. She claimed she missed her youth, reminiscing about the carefree days of college. I even went out of my way to facilitate this trip down memory lane, helping her find a small, affordable apartment down the street, trying to give her the space to feel young again. I thought it would reconnect her with that part of herself, that vibrancy we both cherished. I convinced myself it was a good idea, but little did I know it was the beginning of the end. The first red flag popped up when she became secretive with her phone. I'd catch her texting quickly and turning the screen away. When I asked about it, she'd laugh it off, saying it was just group chats with old friends. I tried to brush it off, I trusted her. But as the days turned into weeks, my gut started twisting uncomfortably. I felt like I was losing her and I couldn't figure out why. Then came the day that shattered my trust completely. I was home early from work, excited to surprise her with dinner. I walked into our shared space and noticed her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. It was an unfamiliar name, and I felt a wave of unease wash over me. I picked it up, my heart racing, and there it was, messages filled with flirty emojis and inside jokes that felt foreign. Something snapped inside me as I read the words "I miss you" and "can't wait to see you again" repeated over and over again. It all hit me like a freight train. I felt sick. I didn't need to read any more to know what was happening. I had always been the dutiful husband, working to provide for us while Lucy chased her dreams. Now, it felt like I had been completely blindsided. The tightness in my chest was suffocating. I couldn't believe this was happening. How could she do this to us, to our family? I decided to confront her that night. The moment she stepped through the door, the atmosphere felt charged. I was ready for a confrontation, rehearsing the words in my head. "What's going on with you and this guy?" I barely let her take off her coat before I fired the question at her, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and desperation. Her reaction was not what I expected. Instead of sorrow or guilt, Lucy's face hardened as she deflected my question with a defensive laugh. "Not what you think, Chris. You're being ridiculous," she said, rolling her eyes. I could hardly believe it. She seemed more annoyed than remorseful, which only fueled the fire inside me. I demanded the truth, laying out the evidence I found, and still she refused to admit to anything. Instead, she spun a web of excuses. She said it was just harmless fun, that it was all about her wanting to feel young again, as if a college fling could somehow fill the void. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. The Lucy I knew wouldn't dismiss our marriage so flippantly. The emotional impact of that moment was overwhelming. I felt angry, betrayed, and utterly lost. It was as if the foundation of my life was crumbling beneath me. How could she so easily dismiss everything we had built together? As the night wore on, I sank into a sea of confusion and heartbreak. The laughter and love we had shared felt like a distant memory, replaced by a cold reality I never wanted to face. The night dragged on, filled with a heavy silence that hung between us like a thick fog. I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal that wrapped around me, squeezing tighter with every moment that passed. Lucy's dismissive attitude only deepened my hurt. It was clear she didn't understand the gravity of what she was doing, or maybe she did and just didn't care. I spent the rest of the night pacing our small living room, my mind racing as I replayed the earlier confrontation like a broken record. I sat on the couch, staring at our wedding photo on the wall. We looked so happy, so in love. It felt surreal to think that the woman in that picture had now become someone who would betray our vows so casually. I barely slept that night. My mind was a whirlwind of anger and sadness, trying to figure out what to do next. I felt trapped, as if I was stuck in some kind of twisted nightmare, unable to wake up. I needed to know the extent of her betrayal. I started to think about how far I was willing to go to get to the truth. The next day, I took a personal day from work. I needed time to process everything. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. I decided to do some digging. I approached our shared computer cautiously, typing in Lucy's name and her college ex's name, Mark, who I knew was the one behind the messages. I felt like a detective playing a dangerous game, but I needed answers. As I scrolled through her social media accounts, I found dozens of photos of them together, photos from college, parties, and even some recent ones. It was like a slap in the face. She hadn't just been texting him, she had been actively maintaining a connection. My heart ached as I clicked through the images, each one another dagger in my already shattered heart. My emotional journey took another twist as I realized just how deep this affair went. Lucy had been sneaking around for weeks, lying about late nights and girls' nights out. All the while, she was running back to her college past, to a time when things were simpler, while leaving me in the dark. I felt like a fool for trusting her so blindly. Fueled by a mix of anger and heartbreak, I decided to confront her again. This time I was prepared. I would lay everything out on the table and demand answers. I wasn't going to let her brush me off again. Later that evening, as Lucy walked in with that same carefree smile, I knew I had to strike while the iron was hot. She tossed her purse onto the kitchen counter, and before she could say anything, I interrupted her. "We need to talk about Mark." Her smile faded, replaced by a look of confusion that quickly morphed into irritation. "Seriously, Chris, it's nothing," she retorted, her voice laced with annoyance. I could see her defensiveness rising like a tide. I pulled out my phone, showing her the evidence I had gathered, the photos and messages that painted a picture of her betrayal. "This is more than nothing, Lucy. You're lying to me. How could you do this?" Her face turned pale as she processed what I was showing her. For a moment I thought I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anger. "You went through my stuff. How dare you invade my privacy like that?" she shouted, her voice rising. It was infuriating to see her shift the blame onto me when she was the one who had crossed every boundary. "Is this what you wanted, to go back to college to relive some fantasy?" I asked, my voice shaking as the weight of my emotions crashed down on me. "Do you really think I'd be okay with this? I just wanted to feel young again," she shouted back, folding her arms defensively. "You don't understand." "Understand what?" "That you would risk everything we built for a fling with someone who doesn't even matter." My heart raced as I confronted her. The realization of her selfishness culminated in a desperate plea for clarity. "You're throwing away our marriage for what, a few nights of fun?" The tension in the room was palpable. Lucy opened her mouth to respond, but the words fell flat. She looked away, refusing to meet my eyes. "It was a mistake," she mumbled finally, her voice barely a whisper. "Then why are you still talking to him?" I pressed, my voice rising again. I needed her to see the pain she was causing, not just to me, but to the life we had built together. "I don't know," she snapped, frustration oozing from her tone. "I was just trying to find myself, Chris. You wouldn't understand." In that moment, I realized how far removed we were from each other. The love we had once shared felt like a distant memory, buried under layers of lies and deceit. I was grappling with my sense of self-worth, questioning whether I had really known the woman I married. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of uncertainty where our future once stood. I needed to decide what to do next. All I knew was that I couldn't put up with this betrayal any longer. I felt the anger rising within me, a fire fueled by grief and the overwhelming need for revenge. I had to figure out how to fight back, to reclaim my dignity and my life, even if it meant tearing everything down. As the confrontation simmered down, Lucy stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed in the silence that followed, leaving me standing in the kitchen, alone with my thoughts. I took a deep breath, trying to quell the storm brewing inside me. I couldn't believe this was happening. I felt like I had been blindsided, and the betrayal cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. I spent the rest of the night tossing and turning, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. I knew I had to make her understand the consequences of her actions. The initial emotional shock was giving way to a burning desire for retribution. I couldn't just let this slide. I had to show her that her actions were not without repercussions. The next morning, I decided I needed to gather more intel on this Mark character. I wanted to know exactly what I was up against. I logged into Lucy's social media accounts again, careful not to leave any traces that could lead her to suspect my investigation. I was on a mission, and I needed to know everything. After hours of digging, I learned more about Mark than I ever wanted to. He was a cocky guy from their college days, a wannabe musician who had failed to grow up. His social media was filled with pictures of him performing at local bars and acting like he was some kind of rock star. The more I read, the more I felt a fire ignite within me. This was the guy who had lured my wife away from our marriage, who had made her feel young again at my expense. At work that day, I couldn't focus. My colleagues noticed something was off, but I shrugged it off, not wanting to share my personal hell with anyone else. I was lost in my thoughts, plotting my next move. The more I thought about Lucy's betrayal, the more I realized this was not just about her. It was about me taking control of my life again. I decided I would confront Mark directly. I needed to show him that I wouldn't let him walk away unscathed from this situation. He may have been the one to reignite Lucy's feelings of youth, but I was the one who had been hurt. I wanted him to face the consequences of his actions, to feel the weight of the hurt he had caused. That evening, I drove to the bar where Mark often played, fueled by a mix of anger and determination. I walked into the dimly lit place, the sounds of laughter and music filling the air. I scanned the room until I spotted him on stage, strumming his guitar with a self-satisfied smirk plastered on his face. It was infuriating to see him in his element, pretending to be someone he was. As he finished his set, I approached him. The moment he noticed me, his expression shifted from carefree confidence to mild concern. "Hey man, can I help you?" he asked, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but low. I could feel the adrenaline pulsing through my veins as I tried to maintain my composure. "Lucy." His demeanor changed immediately, the smugness replaced with defensiveness. "What's it to you?" he snapped, crossing his arms. "She's an adult, she can make her own choices." I stepped closer, keeping my voice calm yet firm. "You think this is a joke? You're messing with someone's marriage. You think playing the rock star gives you a free pass to just sweep in and take what's mine?" Mark's eyes narrowed and he took a step back, clearly taken aback by my confrontation. "Look, man, it's not like that. Lucy and I were just reconnecting. You can't blame me for that. Reconnecting is that what you call it?" I shot back, my voice rising. "You're just a college ex who can't let go of the past. You think you can just swoop in and be her escape from reality." He opened his mouth to retort, but I cut him off. "You need to understand something. Lucy and I have built a life together, and you have no right to interfere in that." Mark shrugged, trying to play it off. "If she's unhappy, that's on her, man, not me." The anger bubbling inside me threatened to boil over. "Maybe you should consider the consequences of your actions. You're not just some carefree guy, you're tearing apart a family. I won't let that slide." The tension hung thick in the air. Mark looked at me, his bravado faltering slightly. I could see the glimmer of realization dawn on his face, that this wasn't just a game to me. I was serious and I wouldn't back down. "Whatever, man," he finally said dismissively. "If she wants to be with me, that's her choice." I took a deep breath, trying to rein in my emotions. "You may think you're winning, but you have no idea what you're getting into. The moment you stop seeing her as a fling, you'll realize she's not the same girl you once knew. You want to play with fire. Just know it can burn you." With that, I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving him standing there, a mix of disbelief and irritation etched on his face. I had confronted him, but deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. I felt a sick sense of satisfaction, but it was also a reminder that the battle for my marriage was far from over. As I drove home, I felt a mix of adrenaline and dread. I had taken a step towards reclaiming my power, but I knew the real confrontation with Lucy was still ahead. I was ready for whatever came next, determined to face the truth and the choices that lay ahead. The emotional toll was immense, but I felt a glimmer of hope. I was ready to fight for my marriage, whether that meant fixing what was broken or preparing to let it go. I needed clarity and I was going to get it, one way or another. When I arrived home, the air felt heavy with unresolved tension. Lucy was already in the living room, sitting on the couch with her head buried in her phone as if trying to block out the reality of our situation. The sight of her made my stomach churn. I could see the guilt bubbling beneath the surface, but she masked it behind her usual nonchalance. "Did you enjoy your little trip down memory lane?" I asked, my voice sharp as I stepped inside. She looked up, startled, but quickly regained her composure. "What do you mean?" she replied, feigning innocence. "I was just catching up on some work." "Work, is that what you're calling it now?" I shot back, crossing my arms. "I had a conversation with Mark tonight." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You went to see him? Are you serious? You think that was a good idea?" "That's rich coming from you," I snapped. "You've been the one sneaking around and now you want to lecture me on what's a good idea." "Chris, save it, Lucy." I interrupted, my patience fraying. "You need to understand just how serious this is. You've put our entire marriage at risk for a fleeting thrill. Do you even realize that?" "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." She shot back defensively, her voice rising. "It was just a stupid mistake." "Just a mistake? This isn't some small error, Lucy. You've been lying to me for weeks. You've been sharing intimate moments with someone else while I've been here, oblivious to the fact that our marriage was crumbling." Her expression shifted from defensive to one of frustration. "You don't understand. I was feeling lost, stuck in this routine, and I needed a reminder of who I was before all of this," she said, gesturing around the living room. "It was never about you or our marriage. I just wanted to feel free again." "Free? By cheating?" I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. "You think that's going to help you find yourself? You're risking everything we built together for what? A few moments of excitement." "I thought he could help me reconnect with that part of myself," she pleaded, her voice softening. "I didn't mean to hurt you, I swear." "But you did hurt me, Lucy. You hurt us," I replied, my voice trembling with emotion. "Do you have any idea what it feels like to know that the person you love was thinking about someone else, sharing parts of their life that should be ours? How do I trust you again after this?" The room fell silent, the weight of my words hanging heavily in the air. I watched as Lucy's eyes filled with tears, her bravado crumbling. For a moment I felt a flicker of sympathy, but it quickly dissipated as the reality of her betrayal washed over me again. "I never meant to cheat," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I thought I could just reconnect with my past and it wouldn't matter." "But it does matter," I shouted, the pain and anger surging within me. "You can't just run back to your youth and expect that I'll be okay with it. You've shattered my trust, and it's going to take more than a few tears to fix that." I paced the room, my heart racing as I struggled to comprehend the reality of our situation. This wasn't just a fight, it was a reckoning. I felt like I was living in a surreal nightmare, one where the person I loved had betrayed me in the most profound way. "I need time to think," I finally said, my voice steadier but heavy with emotion. "I don't know if I can just forgive and forget. You need to understand that what you did has serious consequences." Lucy wiped her tears away, her expression shifting to one of determination. "I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, Chris. Please, don't give up on us." "Fixing this takes more than just words," I replied, feeling the weight of the uncertainty pressing down on me. "It requires honesty, commitment, and a willingness to confront what we've become. I don't even know if I can trust you to be honest anymore." She took a step towards me, reaching for my hand. "I'm willing to prove it to you. Please, just give me a chance." As I looked into her eyes, I felt a mix of emotions swirl within me: anger, grief, and a fleeting glimmer of love that lingered beneath the surface. Could I really forgive her? Was it even possible to rebuild the trust that had been shattered? I didn't have the answers, and the uncertainty loomed over me like a dark cloud. I couldn't ignore the pain, but part of me still wanted to believe that we could overcome this. We had built a life together, and I knew that the road to healing wouldn't be easy, but I also knew I couldn't make this decision lightly. "I need space," I finally said, pulling my hand away gently. "I can't process everything right now. I don't know how to move forward from here." Lucy looked taken aback, her expression shifting from desperation to acceptance. "Okay," she said quietly, tears still glistening in her eyes. "I'll give you space, but please don't shut me out completely." As I walked away, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety wash over me. The confrontation had opened up a painful dialogue, but it was just the beginning. I needed to gather my thoughts, to assess what I wanted for my future, and whether I could envision a life without the betrayal hovering over us. In the days that followed, I found solace in the routine of work and spending time with friends, even as the ache of loss lingered in the back of my mind. I had to confront the reality of our marriage and decide whether I was willing to fight for it or let it go completely. Every moment was a reminder of the choices we'd made, and I knew that the coming days would require clarity, honesty, and perhaps a willingness to forgive. As the days turned into a week, the emotional toll of our situation weighed heavily on me. I kept replaying the confrontation with Lucy in my mind, dissecting her words, her excuses, trying to find some semblance of understanding. I was caught in a storm of confusion, battling between the love I still felt for her and the betrayal that gnawed at my heart. I began to distance myself, spending my evenings at a nearby bar with friends. I needed to clear my head, but every laugh and every drink felt hollow without Lucy by my side. I was trying to find my footing in my new reality, but I kept questioning whether I should even want her back. The anger and hurt still lingered, keeping me from fully embracing the moments of distraction my friends offered. One night, as I sat at the bar nursing a drink, I saw a couple laughing together, their hands intertwined. It reminded me of Lucy and me, of the good times we'd had before the storm. The thought struck me hard. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was the loss of the dreams I'd had for our life together. I had invested so much into our future, and now it felt like everything had been ripped away. After a few drinks, I decided I couldn't do this alone anymore. I called Lucy, my heart racing as I picked up the phone. It was time to have another talk, one where we dig deeper into what had happened, not just at the surface level. I needed to know if she was genuinely willing to fight for us, or if this was just a fleeting moment of regret. "Can we talk?" I asked when she answered, my voice hesitant. "Of course. Where do you want to meet?" she replied, a hint of relief in her voice. We agreed to meet at the same cafe where we had confronted each other weeks ago. It felt symbolic, like coming full circle. As I arrived, I could see her sitting at a corner table, fiddling with her hands. She looked nervous, and I could sense the tension in the air even before I sat down. "Hey," I said softly, trying to break the ice. "Hey," she replied, her eyes downcast. "I've been thinking a lot about everything." "I have too," I admitted. "I need to know if you're serious about wanting to fix this. I can't go back to the way things were before. I need to feel like I can trust you again." She took a deep breath, her expression earnest. "I am serious, Chris. I know I messed up. I've spent so much time reflecting on what I did and why I did it. It wasn't about you, it was about me feeling lost, but that doesn't justify my actions." I nodded, absorbing her words. "I get that you were feeling lost, but that's not an excuse. I'm hurt, Lucy. You chose him over us, even if it was just for a moment. Can you understand why that's so painful for me?" "I do," she said, her voice trembling, "and I can't express how sorry I am for putting you through this. I never thought it would go that far. I thought it was just a way to reconnect with a part of myself, but I see now how wrong that was. I need to know how you plan to prove to me that you're committed to making this work," I pressed. "Words are just words without actions backing them up." "Then let me show you," she replied, her eyes brightening with determination. "I'll be completely open with you. No more secrets. I'll cut ties with Mark, and I won't let my past interfere with our future. I want to work on us to rebuild what's been broken. Are you prepared for the tough conversations?" I asked, the weight of my words hanging between us. "There will be trust issues, and we'll need to navigate through the pain together. Are you ready for that?" "I am," she said, her voice steady. "I want to be honest about everything, to share my thoughts and feelings with you. I don't want to hide anymore. I want us to communicate better, to be a team again." Her sincerity struck a chord within me. I could see the remorse in her eyes, the desire to make amends. It made me wonder if there was still hope for us if we could navigate this rocky path together. But as much as I wanted to believe in a second chance, I had to protect my heart from falling too fast. "I'm willing to try," I said, my voice softening. "But it's going to take time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight, and I need to see consistent change in you." "Absolutely," she replied, her expression earnest. "I'm committed to doing the work, Chris. I don't want to lose you." As we talked, I could feel the tension between us start to ease. The raw honesty of our conversation created a glimmer of hope, but the path ahead was still uncertain. We both knew it wouldn't be easy, but at least we were willing to try. After our conversation, we walked out of the cafe together. It felt strange but comforting to be next to her again. There was still a long way to go, but I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps we could navigate this storm together, both of us willing to put in the effort to rebuild what had been broken. I realized I had a decision to make, not just about Lucy, but about myself as well. Love is complicated, and sometimes it takes a betrayal to see what's truly important. I was ready to face the challenge, to fight for the marriage we both wanted, knowing that the road ahead would require patience, understanding, and perhaps a little bit of forgiveness along the way. The weeks that followed our heartfelt conversation felt like a delicate balancing act. Lucy and I began to navigate the treacherous waters of rebuilding our relationship, grappling with the remnants of betrayal while attempting to forge a new foundation built on honesty. It wasn't easy. Every moment was filled with reminders of the pain we'd endured, but we were both committed to making it work. Lucy kept her promise to distance herself from Mark, and I made an effort to communicate more openly about my feelings. It was an uncomfortable process, one that brought up insecurities and fears that had been buried beneath the surface. I found myself questioning every little thing, from her late work hours to her social gatherings. But I also learned to express my feelings, to articulate my fears without letting them fester inside me. We started scheduling regular check-ins, a time dedicated solely to discussing our relationship, our feelings, and any lingering doubts. At first, those conversations felt forced, awkward even as we stumbled over our words, trying to navigate uncharted territory. But slowly, we found our rhythm. We shared our vulnerabilities, our hopes, and our fears. It was during those discussions that I began to see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, the one who cared deeply but had lost her way. One evening, after a particularly vulnerable talk, we found ourselves sitting on the couch, holding hands. I looked over at her, a mix of emotions swirling within me. "I want you to know that I still love you," I said softly. "But love isn't enough to fix everything. We have to keep working at this." "I love you too, Chris," she replied, her eyes shimmering with tears. "I know I messed up, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I don't want to lose you again." Her words, though simple, held a weight that resonated deep within me. As we sat there, I felt a flicker of hope. It was fragile, but it was there. Perhaps we could heal together. Perhaps we could find our way back to one another. In the weeks that followed, we took small steps toward healing. We started going on dates again, trying new restaurants, and revisiting those places that held special memories for us. Each shared moment felt like a victory, a sign that we were slowly reclaiming what we had lost. We laughed more, reminisced about the good times, and even started building new memories together. Yet, the road to recovery was not without its bumps. There were moments when doubt crept in, when old insecurities reared their ugly heads. I'd catch myself feeling jealous when she received a text, or I'd feel a pang of anxiety when she was out with friends. Each time, I reminded myself to communicate those feelings, to trust her as she was working hard to regain my trust. With time, those moments of doubt began to diminish. The trust between us was slowly being rebuilt, brick by brick. I could see that Lucy was genuinely committed to our marriage, putting in the effort to show me that she was willing to change. She made an effort to include me in her life, sharing her experiences and opening up about her feelings. I could see the remorse in her eyes, and I believed her when she said she was sorry. One evening, as we sat on the patio, sipping wine and watching the sunset, I realized how far we had come. The air was filled with laughter as we shared stories, and I felt a warmth in my chest that I hadn't experienced in a long time. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. "Chris, I want us to make a promise to each other," Lucy said, breaking the comfortable silence. "Let's promise to always be honest with one another no matter how difficult it is. Let's never allow something like this to happen again." I nodded, my heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and love. "I promise. I want us to be a team to face whatever comes our way together." That promise felt like a turning point. With every passing day, I could feel the weight of the betrayal lifting. We were no longer defined by Lucy's mistake. We were building something new, something stronger. It wasn't an easy journey, but it was ours. As the months turned into a year, we found ourselves in a place of understanding and renewed love. The scars of betrayal were still there, but they served as a reminder of how far we had come. I learned that love is not just about the good times. It's about weathering the storms together, about facing the darkness and finding a way back to the light. Ultimately, I realized that the experience had taught me valuable lessons about trust, communication, and resilience. It reminded me that love can endure even through the toughest trials, but it requires effort from both parties. I often reflected on our journey, grateful for the hard work both Lucy and I put in to rebuild our relationship. In the end, I learned that while betrayal can shatter trust, it can also create an opportunity for growth and healing. We emerged stronger, more connected, and ready to embrace whatever the future held. Love is a choice, and every day we chose each other.